Good afternoon and welcome to Gateway Rotary Club. I'm going to ask Jenny to come up to lead us in the pledge and an inspiration.
Hope I need my inspiration. All right, please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, as many of you know, today is May 4th, and may the 4th be with you all. I have selected 2 Star Wars quotes to share with you today. The first is, and I'm not a great Star Wars, I'm a Trekkie, sorry, but Talon Carde says this first quote is, I found that what most people call luck is often little more than raw talent combined with the ability to make the most of opportunities. I liked that one. And then the next one was my favorite that I found today. Life is not without pain, but life concerns itself with how we handle that pain, or joy, or confusion, or triumph. Life is more than time passing before death. It is the sum and total of all we make of it. Alegos Akla. Forgive me for butchering it. He is a Jedi. That is your inspiration for the day. Thank you. And may the 4th be with you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Okay, do we have any visiting Rotarians? Don't see any in the room. All right, I think it's just us. We do have a guest speaker we'll introduce in a little bit. Let's see here, announcements. Oh. Do we have any? I don't think so. I think it's just us. Okay. Looks like. Anybody I missed? Okay. Announcements. Josie, I know you have an announcement, and so does Jenny. Looks like Doug might be getting ready to come up.
So I just wanted to remind everyone, we're still taking nominations for the Vocational Service Award. So if you know of someone you want to nominate, we need them by May 16th. So they need to be a non-Rotarian. They live to the ideals of the 4-way test, outstanding in their vocational work, and active in the community helping others. We have a very short form to fill out. There's some in the back, so please fill them out. We only have 2 nominations, so we definitely need some more. And the more info you can provide, the better. Thank you.
Okay, I've got Porch Fest announcement. So it is time for posters that describe Porch Fest to be hung in windows of businesses. So I need some volunteers, 5, 6, 7 people, to agree to put some posters up or walk around to some of the stores or put them in their place of business. Please, I don't have the posters yet. I'm waiting for the final copy of the poster, and then Steve Rowe is going to print them. And I'm hoping, if Steve's okay with it, you can just go to Steve Rowe's office to pick up the posters and put them where it is, wherever you agree to put them. So I'm going to pass out a sign-up sheet. So if you can do like G Street, or if you can do north end of town, south end of town, west end of town, east end of town, or your own business, sign up and let me know. And then also I send a email out about it, and you can respond to the email if you would. And then we'll try to get this organized and figured out. So I will pass this around. Oh, and read it too, because it was really damn funny on it. Somebody better read it. Pat me on the back.
I just have a quick announcement on behalf of my best friend, Christina, who some of you may remember, she's been a guest here. She's a postal carrier, and she will be at our Rotary event next Thursday at Wildlife Images, so you'll get to meet her. But she asked me to ask for volunteers to help with the letter carrier food drive. It's going to be next Saturday, May 13th, following that event, and they need help starting around 10:30 a.m. So they do a big food drive, and they need folks to help pick up food on different routes. The volunteers, if you are interested, should contact Rebecca at 541-621-7858. And if you're interested in finding out about that number and you don't want to write it down right now, just come see me at any point and I will gladly share this information with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Jenny, can you put that in the chat too for the folks on Zoom? Thank you. Any other announcements? I'm gonna remind people about the Wildlife Images event is next Thursday, the 11th, out at Wildlife Images, and it is a social open to all 4 clubs. You're welcome to bring guests. If you haven't already signed up, this is the last chance. After this meeting, I am going to be sending our head count to Ann Rusk, so they know how much food to have prepared. So if you haven't signed up on the back, or if you haven't emailed me, please let me know. End of the meeting today is our cutoff for that. So, all right. Well, if there's nothing else, I'd like to have Claudia Sullivan come up and introduce our guest speaker today.
Afternoon, is this, how about this? This?
Yeah.
That way? Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our speaker today. Dr. Randy Weber joined Rogue Community College as our 7th president in July of this year, and I've already had the pleasure of seeing that his positive impact has really made a difference with our college community. President Weber received his doctorate in education from Baker University in Overland Park, Kansas. He holds both a master's and bachelor's degree in education from the University of Kansas. Dr. Weber is a proud graduate of the community college system himself, where he began his education by completing his Associate of Science degree with Barton County Community College in Kansas. Dr. Weber is also an alum of the well-respected Aspen Presidential Fellowship Program for Community College Excellence. Prior to assuming his presidency at RCC, Dr. Weber served in cabinet positions for 14 years at 3 distinctly different schools. He started his career in education at a rural residential Kansas as an assistant basketball coach and admissions counselor. He advanced there to serve as both athletic director and vice president of student services. He then accepted the position of vice president of enrollment services at Pikes Peak State College in Colorado, an urban multi-campus institution. After Pikes Peak, he moved to Johnson County Community College, where he served as executive vice president and chief student success and strategy officer in Overland Park, Kansas. Johnson County Community College enrolls over 27,000 credit students and 25,000 non-credit students annually, with over 3,000 employees and a operating budget and capital budget of $220 million. Dr. Weber has served and continues to serve as a national level presenter and consultant on enrollment management and academic advising strategies for community college administrators across the country. As a first-generation community college graduate, Dr. Weber is committed to creating greater access for students from every background and ensuring successful program completion for all. His collaborative leadership initiatives have helped each prior college remove barriers to student enrollment, improve student success rates, and increase student satisfaction and persistence. To be successful in his efforts, Dr. Weber creates a strong culture of leadership among his faculty and staff, seeking and valuing their insights, advice, and ideas. Randy and his wife, Sasha, enjoy mountain and beach hikes with their dog throughout the Rogue Valley and along the Oregon coast. Their adult son lives and works in the city of Denver, and they are excited to finally call Southern Oregon a region that they've admired for years as their home. Randy?
Good afternoon. Thank you for that, Claudia. Jenny, thank you for pick up slides, and it's great to look across the room and see so many familiar faces, whether some of our retirees from the college or some of our current employees, and I've been here almost a year now in the Valley, so I'm less new by the day, and so some community members I've had a chance to get out and about and meet. I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak a little bit about the college. When I first started doing a couple of my conversations. It was really just kind of about me and a little bit about the college, but as the years progress, we've been able to kind of work together to develop some strategies, and I've got some outcomes to be able to share today too. So I think that what I've got to be able to talk a little bit about today will be a good balance for those who are retirees to know, hey, here's some good stuff going out to college, but also community members to know some of the great work we're doing. So with that said, Jenny, I'll go ahead and let you go. Real briefly about me, Claudia did a great job talking with an introduction, but I relocated here from suburban Kansas, where I spent most of my life in Kansas. I was a first generation community college graduate. Kind of helps me relate with our students and their experiences. And so one of my mentors, I was in a session of his in Chicago years ago, and he said, I never really aspired to be a community college president, but the work we do is too important, and I'm willing to lead the work. And that was really a transformational experience for me. And that's kind of really how I felt. I loved the job that I had preceding becoming a college president, but I knew if I really wanted to have the greatest impact on students and their experience and their ability to change their lives, that moving into the role of presidency would be the best path to do so. So our mission is to enhance the quality of life in our communities by providing accessible, exemplary education opportunities for student success and economic development. So that's what we spend a lot of time on, our students and trying to grow jobs and economic development. I'll talk a little bit more about that today. So what we do is we transform lives through education. And here's some examples of just some of the experiences that we have on campus, balance out a little bit, a lot of the career programs that we have. And then it's kind of hard to see the data here at a glance, but it kind of helps me remind what some of the points that I want to talk to you a little bit about. So in 2021, we had just over 6,800 unduplicated students at the college. The majority of our students are non-minority. However, what is growing fast is our minority, particularly our Latinx population is the fastest growing population at the school. You can see the majority of our students are not the age of 18 to 24, which is what we call traditional college age. We have a lot of non-traditional adults and a growing, we had a decreasing, but growing again, high school population, so more there. And then we have this year 8,117 students and counting as we add some more classes. So I'll show some numbers here a little bit where the trajectory is going kind of the right way on rebound enrollment. You're okay. Okay. Real small data here, but you can kind of see as you go from left to right. This is our enrollment over the last 7 years. And the green line represents the pandemic, essentially. So preceding the pandemic, you can see that our enrollment was starting to decline. It had been declining really since the recovery from the recession. Community college enrollment aligns typically with employment. So if there are more jobs, there are fewer people going to school seeking job skills training. And we've been in the longest recovery from a recession. So we're starting to see as the economy's cooled just a little bit of return and some efforts that we've done. So we're really excited that this year that we've had an increase in enrollment, and it's really been focused there. And a lot of it's been around our recruitment and retention initiatives that our teams have put underway. A little bit of what we do and how our enrollment is evolving over time. On the left in 2018-19, it's kind of this pie chart here. The thing I really kind of point out, you can see the comprehensive nature of what our community college does. Oftentimes people will think maybe it's a transfer institution for students who want to get baccalaureate degrees and they just started a community college. Or a number of people may think, well, the community college is more like a trade technical type of school where students are going to go get vacations and go straight to work. Well, we're both and we do adult basic skills and we do hobby learning with life. There's not uncommon for people who start small businesses to say, okay, now what I need to do is I need to increase my marketing skills. I need to increase my accounting abilities. And they come and they take a class at the community college and they very well may have a bachelor's degree. Actually, a number of our applicants to our nursing program have bachelor's degrees. A lot of returners to fire science. I just met a fire science student who has a bachelor's degree. So a lot of people who may get a degree will say, I think I want a different career and come and explore career opportunities. So on the orange, which you can see just a couple of years ago, about 4 years ago, 22% of our enrollment was what we call career tech. So those primarily straight to work programs, whereas now it's over 31%. So that's a lot more students who are coming to us, even though we've declined over the years in enrollment. More students are still coming to us saying, I want a job. How do I go from not having a job or the job I want to coming to RCC and getting a career? So we track and watch that to see what types of classes our students taking. So what's going on in Oregon? This is something I share because this is, for me, it's kind of an important thing to point out, and it's a little bit of a different experience. And so in Oregon, we are 45th out of 50 states in college going rate out of high school. And so the national average is almost 60%. It's 59.6, and we're at 49.6. So 10% lower than the national average out of students who go straight from high school to college. And so we spent a lot of time this year working with our K-12 partners to try to improve that pipeline and going to college. And the reason why is on these next couple of slides is because as we can often suspect, wages increase with increased education. So if I have a high school diploma or some college no degree, on the right, what you start to see is increasing wages. But the other interesting fact is that unemployment decreases as people attain higher education. So you're going to get a better job and you're going to have a greater likelihood of being able to attain that job during those circumstances. So we really want to focus on the value of getting a degree, a certificate, some form of post-secondary education, so individuals can have a living wage, which, according to some data on future jobs and what we call good jobs, and this can be a sliding scale depending on number and household and region and that, but it's pretty consistent to say about 80% of jobs are going to require some form of post-secondary education. And I say jobs, it'll be jobs that pay a living wage. So a good job is a job that would pay a living wage depending upon household size and region. So if we know that maybe somebody might not need a bachelor's degree, but they may need to learn how to weld, they may need a certificate, then it'll go there. Kind of a recent phenomenon that we struggle with a little bit and we've tried to respond to is that a lot of the service sector strategies right now, and so customer service, retail, fast food, those jobs, some of those are paying about the entry of what some of the jobs that you go to school for a year to get a certificate from us pay. And so, for example, pharmacy tech, phlebotomist, there's not necessarily a large difference between those which require some experience and courses from us rather than going and working in a fast food industry. And so our team's been working really hard, and we've got a campaign out now called Learn More to Earn More to try to condense our program so we can help students get to and through these programs a little bit quicker. But the other thing we try to work with folks to understand is that those are bridge programs and they're stackable. So you start with that credential, and the intent is in that you would grow from it and grow a career. Whereas a lot of these other jobs may pay similarly, but they're often less desirable, and you often hit a ceiling a lot quicker. So helping people understand the difference between maybe a job and a career when you're looking at wages can become interesting, and our advisors spend a lot of time helping students navigate those conversations. Future jobs in Oregon. So what are jobs in Oregon that we're looking at trying to make sure that we have job training for? So this is throughout the state and data. And so what we're saying is registered nurses, general operations managers, med assistant, medical healthcare service managers, nurse practitioners, heavy and tractor trailer truck drivers, so CDL, and substance abuse behavior. So a lot of mental health and transportation, or excuse me, healthcare and transportation. I was at a Soretti board meeting, I guess it was last week, and we were talking a little bit about workforce and jobs. Actually, it was Road Workforce Partnerships board meeting, but we were talking a little bit about the industry sectors that we have locally. And one of the things that we know to be true is that our ability to build and stack good programs around healthcare and transportation is evident. However, we still have a high need. I was talking to some of our local hospital leaders earlier this week, and I think we have 800 jobs in Asante alone, and over 400 nursing jobs that are open, that they're trying to fill. Talking to our trucking folks, they could use 100 CDL drivers tomorrow. So we're working hard to pump some of these through. We've got a lot of grants to get more CDL. We've added a couple trucks and a trailer to our inventory, and we just got approval from the State Board of Nursing to add a second RN cohort, which will allow us to go from 32 RNs a year that we're awarding degrees to 56. So that'll be a really big win for us, and our partners are helping make that possible. But we know in those two, because of the credentials and what I say is industry respects them, it's great. The other challenges we have is like manufacturing and technology, or areas where we're being told that jobs are going to grow. We struggle a little bit there because working with industry partners to determine what skills specifically do individuals need in order to be successful in the workforce are a little bit hairier. So it's not a clear credential and a qualification. And we work to build these programs. For example, we've got one that we suspended for a couple of years, mechatronics, that we built in response to industry requests. However, for one reason or another, we had a hard time getting enrollment into it. So we work closely with industry partners to try to figure out what is it we can do to help you get the necessary workforce you need.
Crackers, or just eat a piece of
So
cheese?
this year, at the beginning of the year, because of declining enrollment and our dependency on enrollment
That
in
is
order
either or, and I
to
cannot
one, pay the bills, but more importantly, I tell people
Um,
enrollment's a byproduct. It's a byproduct of what we do. We want to make sure that we have a vast array of offerings and that we're meeting our community's needs. We're meeting our community's needs in adult basic skills and GED, that we're meeting their needs in K-12. Maybe a student's going to go straight to a university out of high school. If they can get some of those dual credits to keep time to degree or student loans down, then we're doing a great service to our community. And so we worked and said, what can we do to help stabilize our enrollment this year? I am happy to report that our enrollment is up over 8% in FTE for the year. It's over 13% in the spring, but 8% for the year, and over about 6% in headcount. So one of the things that we did was we set two specific goals for ourselves to say, if we want to grow enrollment, what are some things that we can do? And the first was we want to increase course completion rates. We want students who start classes to complete a class. We could all agree that nobody really enrolls in a class without the intent to at least finish it. And we had a lot of conversation around success versus not. And one of the things we talked about was maybe when we encourage students to drop because they're worried about their success early, then they never come back to college, versus what would happen if we encourage them to stick it through and seek resources and tutoring, and maybe they didn't think they were going to do well and they got a passing grade and they're able to advance. So we really changed that mantra to changing to course completion. And one of the things that I love is that our results on our goals went up, and so I like that the results went up. But the other thing I like that I've learned as a new leader at the institution is that I found a team that's really resilient with kind of a can-do attitude. So when we said, you know what, we're going to set these goals for ourselves, we didn't get in response. Well, those are going to be hard. We're not going to be able to achieve them. What we saw was a bunch of people roll up their sleeves and do a lot of things that yielded great results. So our course completions went up. And then the other thing we wanted to focus on was term-to-term persistence. So if a student was enrolled in fall, did they come back in winter? If they were enrolled in winter, did they come back in spring? And these are other metrics, as you can see, our fall to winter retention is the highest it's been in over 5 years. And we're right there with winter to spring too. And again, I'm very proud of the team, because what this says to me, one, is we're trending the right direction, but two, we're able to set and accomplish goals. And that gives me a lot of confidence in some of the future goals and strategies that we'll have to undertake. So moving forward, a couple important things that we'd love to share as a college. We're going to, in order to transform lives, there are two primary things that we want to focus on: access and success. We want to make sure that more people have the ability to get the supports that RCC offers and they need, whether it's post-secondary or whether it's adult basic skills, GED. And hopefully, as we start to rebound and get some of these focus back, we can add some of our hobby and interest courses as well, return those. And so around access, we're focusing primarily on our K-12 partnerships. That's a pipeline. I can tell you that it's common to see at a community college, maybe 15 to 25% of your head count be K-12 students taking either dual credit or what we call early college. So whether it's their instructor or yours, but to see at 15 to 25% at least, some schools are up to like 40, which is really kind of dangerous from the other end of the spectrum. We're at about 6 to 10% of our enrollment headcount comes from high school students. So we really think that we've got an opportunity to seize that. One, to help them if they don't plan to come to us initially, but two, if we can help students get college credit while they're in high school and see themselves as a college student, then that leap from high school to college doesn't feel like a canyon. It's just kind of a small step. So we're really excited about that work. And increased workforce partnerships is the other access thing where we're for years I would talk with employers and I would say, what can we do to help you train your workforce? And a response or similar type of response would be, well, what if I train them and they leave? Like, what if I just train them up for that next job? And because we know there's been so much demand on labor lately that people have hired what they could get and maybe not as skilled of a workforce as they prefer, the response that I've always said is, well, what if you don't train them and they stay? and that has really got people now with that response. It's a lot different. It's like, well, I do need a more qualified workforce. I want to grow my business. Maybe I have this equipment that we have, but I want to buy some CNC so we can do some more manufacturing in that. It's going to be hard for me to go out and find labor. I'm going to be better off if I can train and grow my own folks. So we're having a lot better conversations with workforce when we say, how do we help you train up the individuals you have and seeing some good gains there. But it's required us to reimagine the way we do things too. Maybe not everybody is able to do everything from 8 to 10 or a 10 to 1 time slot. What we do in our advanced manufacturing and see really good results from is we do what we basically call an open lab, which means that the students go out and they have to do a lot of their, instead of an instructor lecturing to you the entire time, and then you come in and take a test periodically to see how you know it, they have to do a lot of their reading and learning, their academic learning on their own. And they come in kind of like a flipped classroom type model, and they come in and demonstrate their competencies on the equipment and that's what helps them advance. But in the open lab, they can do it on their schedule. So if they work full-time or part-time, they can find a time that works better for them. And we're not trying to get everybody from every industry at the same time and enroll class. So it's our faculty thinking outside the box. It's our employers saying, I want to grow my area. And we've seen really good results with that kind. Not every industry or program lends itself to that kind of a model, but it allows us to say, how might we think different in order to yield greater results and meet need? And then around success, a lot of our pathways. And one of the things that we've seen over and over is the barrier to success are some basic needs for students. We have students who the fragility of their ability to be here today and tomorrow is immense. And they are one flat tire or one day away from not finding childcare. One bus pass from being able to say, having to say, I don't know that I can continue because I'm not here. I heard a story. We had a student speak at the foundation meeting the other day, and she's in our program going from an LPN to RN bridge, and she's a single mother, and which my mom was a single mother LPN, so it was a very touching story for me. She said, when I was going to my nursing program, I was that close to dropping out because I could not afford a backpack and school supplies for my kids. And I thought, how could I be focusing on my education when I can't even put make school supplies available for my kids? And she had shared that story with our financial aid counselor she worked with that day. And lo and behold, our team, not surprisingly, got together and put together backpacks and supplies so her kids had something to go to school with. And here she is years later, going from the LPN to the RN bridge program, but she was that close from not realizing her own dream because of life circumstances. So it wasn't a matter of, is she academically prepared? Is she committed? Those are the challenges so many of our students face when they think, it's time for me to go to school and get a better job. So I appreciated that testimonial from her. So a couple things that I thought would be really good to share with Grants Pass community, some upgrades that we've got going on at our Redwood campus, which now that we've been annexed is actually in Grants Pass. Our old, and a number of people in the room probably know this, our old building, which is where our old science labs were, and a number of you came out to our science lab ribbon cutting this fall. Thank you for coming. It was my first day that I experienced a change in programming due to smoke. That was a smoke day. So we had all the chairs set up and we moved them all inside and we squeezed in the hallway and had a great time together. But that building that became vacated, what we're going to do is we're going to bring back some allied health programs, some of those bridge programs that I talked a little bit to Josephine County, and to help make sure that we can meet that growing allied health need. We're able to do that through it's about a $5.5 million project with about $1.5 million, a little over from the college, and about 3.6 million. That is what's called congressionally directed spending, which is federal money that's allowing us to pull off this project. So look for more on that, but we're going to be able to bring some of those programs back, and we think that those will really help us meet a need. And then, oh, I had that on there. And then the other one that gets a lot of enthusiasm is our Revive the Bowl efforts. And we are currently underway in campaigning to bring the Rogue Bowl back to operation. So if you're not aware, we've not been able to use it as a campus for the last number of years because of ADA requirements. It doesn't meet accessibility requirements. And so between now and our goal is graduation of 24, we're going to do quite a bit of work. It's a multi-phase project. The first phase is to get it to be ADA compliant. And we have a task force working on this that has a vision and a dream to say, what if we had the Rogue Bowl be Grit Fest like what if we had some more amenities and able to draw attractions? One of we know, have heard, and I believe that the acoustics actually in the Rogue Bowl are better than most of the other venues in the area. So we have some vision for it, but our first and primary goal is to be able to get to where we can start using it again as a college and have our community do events. I live about 30 miles from here, and my next door neighbor, the first conversation we had when he found out I was the new college president was about his family's experience, and they lived in East Medford at the time, not anymore. But when they lived, the first conversation we had was about their family's experience with the Rogue Bowl and the plays and hosting artists in their home. So we're really excited to help put that community back in the community college. So if you're eager and interested in buying a brick or a star supporting, there's a lot of information. And we have an event on June 24th at the college in a lower parking lot, because that's where we can have it now, that help kind of kick off events. So if you want to put that on your calendar, that'll be a great opportunity to revive the bowl. And that concludes kind of the information that I was prepared to share today. And I guess I would be happy to take any questions or comments that you may have. Oh, you bet. Oops.
A number of years ago, in terms of the bowl, I skied the Rogue Bowl. And I was wondering if there is anything to live.
You know, that I think there might still be enough incline there that you could probably still keep that but there's going to be parts too where you won't be able to ski it because we will be at grade and ADA compliant. So lift isn't on any of those phases. We'll have to go back and revisit it. But I was told there I was told there wasn't going to be that much snow here when I moved here either. So now I'm really getting confused. There you go.
Yeah, but when the college or when a community college wants to take on a new program, or you see, maybe we should do this new thing. Do you have to find the funding first, or do you need a pretty secure supply of students that want it? And what's kind of the first step to what drives that taking on a new program?
So that's a great question, and a lot of it depends on the. Okay, you bet. So the question, yeah, was what kind of comes first, the resources or the need for students when we look at adding programs. And it really is program dependent. So some programs say, go ahead and enroll students. And so let me start here. We wouldn't look at adding a program unless there was a demonstrated local need for it. And so particularly when you start adding programs, it's not cost neutral, especially when you start it off. And so you're subsidizing it, and the justification for subsidizing a program addition would be local need. So, we see this need, whether it's a career program, whether it's a transfer program. So we've seen that in substance and abuse counseling, and we see it in manufacturing, which kind of are two different tracks. But what we do is we identify that there's need, and there's enough to add a program, because that's on the academic track. On the non-academic track, we could do a certificate or something that's kind of get in, do some training and get out, and then we've met the need. Whereas how much need and is it repeated is part of the inventory that we do. So once we've determined that there's need and that we believe that we can get the students for the program, then it is, well, what resources do we need to get and do that? And one we're going through right now, and we're having the dickens of a time, is dental hygiene. We know that there's a need for dental hygiene. Working with our Association for Accreditation has been proven to be very challenging. A lot of it is because the way that they're set up, their association wants us to commit tremendous resources before we ever enroll a student. And so we're negotiating that with them to figure out, it's unrealistic, for example, full-time faculty on staff without any enrollment. It's like, well, we're ready to flip the switch because we already have the qualified faculty teaching in our dental assistant. So we have it, but, just dedicating them to a program that has 0 students in it for 2 years while you're trying to help us get through this is a difficult challenge. So we run into that. And in a situation like that, that's sometimes where we go and we try to seek some grant funding, because those types of programs are high need. And so maybe we'll work with a grant to say, can you seed this startup for us? Because once it gets going, it'll probably be self-sufficient, but we can't get it going without some support. So oftentimes, that's kind of that third wheel to the question is we seek one-time funding to help get us some startup.
I'm a little bit curious about how your budget is built.
Yeah.
Is it mostly tuition or?
Yeah. So our budget primarily is built from 3 sources: tuition, local tax dollars, and state. And I'll start with tuition. So tuition's clean and easy. It's based on the enrollment, what we charge for tuition, that's how much we generate. So enrollment went down, our tuition revenue went down. Then it gets a little more complex when it comes from what we call total public funds. So total public funds, we have a term in Oregon called equalization, which means they're going to take the pool of tax dollars and what we call a community college support fund, and they're going to put that together with a formula, and then they're going to determine how much each school gets. So we collect our local tax dollars because they are our local. But depending upon how much we get, that impacts how much the CCSF funds us. And so, for example, we get a high local tax per FTE for our students. Part of it's because of our decline in enrollment has been faster than everybody else's than most other schools. So we get less per student than does schools who don't have that same balance. The example I will use is we have a larger enrollment than Klamath Community College. We draw about 10 million from the state. They draw 14 million from the state because of the way that works. So we get more balance. So it's a little bit trickier there. So when our tax revenue goes up because our tax base is going up, which is great in our economy, and we struggle because we think we contribute to that. So we contribute to a growing tax base by helping people find jobs and be able to afford homes. All it really does is subsidize what we get from the state. It doesn't get us more money. So it's kind of a tricky thing there. Yep, go ahead.
On your chart that you have about enrollment in college right after high school. I might have been looking at it wrong, but was Mississippi the #1 state that had the highest enrollment?
I don't remember that one off of what it said. It lists, yeah. Yeah. So they don't have a promise program that you would see like in a Tennessee Tennessee's known for their community college promise program. I've spent more time on the right side. So yeah, Mississippi, Rhode Island, Connecticut. Now the other interesting thing is these are percentage of high school graduates that go. So if you see a state that has low graduation rate, then it can be there. But I will tell you, I don't put it up here because I don't like, I don't want it to be appear as an indictment on K-12. We're actually challenged when we look at the percentage of ninth graders who graduate high school. We're 49th out of 50, beating New Mexico. So we look at that and it's a pipeline problem. So how do we grow the pipeline and work with K-12 and say, how can we help you kind of get students to and through school? And there's some anomaly years in there that we've struggled with between pandemic and some other stuff. Of course, this is 17, 18 data. And part of the problem we run into when we do some of these comparisons is it's a lot of it's what we call lagging indicators. A lot of this data tends to be a little bit old by the time they can get it and from all the states and put it together and do that. But unless there's been a drastic initiative in any of these states, you won't see one move much. It moved just a little bit. That's a good observation.
Is there a difference between rural and urban in that graduation rate
Yeah.
you were talking about?
Yeah, so the question was if there was difference in rural and urban and graduation rate. I have seen a little bit in the past. I will tell you, I have struggled in 10 months being here at getting that local data. And I've tried to work a little bit with a couple of our agencies. I've had better luck doing it in other environments than here. So I anecdotally, I hear that there's not that much difference between districts in Southern Oregon and Southern Oregon compared to the rest of the state, that it's marginally the same, but I've not got my hands on the data to speak to that. Yeah.
I think this is following a national trend, but I'm so surprised at the disparity between male and female registered enrollment.
Yeah.
I think it was 62% female. I thought
Yeah.
maybe 55, 57, but that seems. So are men not going back to college?
Yeah, so the disparity between female and male and our snapshot here, yeah, I think it was like 61-39, which is really high. And that's a pretty wide gap. Typically you might find, I mean, you're going to see like 57-43. I mean, there is a higher participation rate in females. What we saw a little bit during the pandemic though was a decline. Pandemics hit moms harder than anybody, and they're the ones who put their lives on hold so everybody else could do. And so we saw a lot of our adult females numbers start to dive quite a bit because they're trying to put their kids through Zoom school and online learning and all that stuff, and time for themselves to learn or commit to that was a lot of what we didn't see. But as it's rebounded, yeah, it's 55-45, 57-43 right in there. It's the participation rate for females. And a lot of that tends to be around the labor stuff too, because there are jobs that often are more attractive to males that don't require post-secondary, that pay, then they can go. I can go work in an industry, I can work in a factory, I can, yeah. And so there tend to be better paying jobs that males tend to work toward. And oh, you bet.
Are you considering looking at a program in robotics, since robots are going to jobs, they still need service?
Yeah, what I'll say to that is we used to say, we're going to train somebody for a career and they may have 4 or 5 different careers or jobs in that career. Now we say we're training people for 4 or 5 different careers. They're going to work in this industry doing this thing one day, and then 3 years from now, they're going to come over here and do something completely different. So a lot of the training that we do has to be geared toward people who are working and want a different job, and to help people learn how to think and think critically. A lot of those, what we call learning outcomes that we require, hopefully will help people, whether there's automated jobs or manual jobs. But yeah, the ones that are going to go away that we're most fearful of are the ones that require the least amount of education. So that job security around those low paying jobs is not great.
So your answer is no.
Yeah. I mean, no. I think, thank you all very much.
Thank you, Dr. Evans. All right, I think we've got a little bit of time for Sergeant at Arms and Happy Bucks, Greg.
Thanks, Gina Marie. How many in the audience here are current RCC employees? Not to mention me. Yeah, and how about on Zoom? James is up there. Rudy's up there. Oh, okay,
Yeah, and she's
great.
part of us.
Well, it's a wonderful connection and welcome, Andy. As Jennifer said, the 4th of May is May 4th. And it's Star Wars Day. Does anyone know when the first official event that marked May the 4th as Star Wars Day occurred? How did this fad start? I'll give you a hint. It was in England. Another hint. It was when a new prime minister was named. Another hint. It was 1979. The new prime minister of England was appointed on the 4th of May, 1979. And the Conservative Party ran a full-page ad wishing her the best. They said, "May the 4th be with you, Maggie. Congratulations to Margaret Thatcher." All right. Does anyone know how Harrison Ford got the role of Han Solo in the first Star Wars movie?
Because Al Pacino didn't want it.
Al Pacino didn't want it. No, good guess though, Lutz. No. Harrison Ford was hired to feed lines to the actors who were auditioning for parts in Star Wars. And George Lucas was observing this, and he came to like Harrison Ford in the way he was delivering the lines that he was feeding the other actors who were auditioning for the parts, and he gave him the part of Han Solo. All right, pet lovers. What was the inspiration for the character Chewbacca? Also related to George Lucas, sort of related. As pet lovers like to say that pets are part of the family. Dog, what? Saint Bernard, that's a good guess. It's George Lucas's dog. It was an Alaskan Malamute. All right, here's one. So talk about robotics and the science of communication and other sorts of technical devices. What was the communicator that Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor used made from? They held a communicator that was a resin model of a Gillette Ladies Sensor XL razor blade. So the next time any of you ladies are using that product, you can think you could be a Star Wars, yeah. All right. In The Force Awakens, there's a scene where Rey uses the Force to free herself from Kylo Ren's interrogation chair. Who do you think played the weak-minded stormtrooper that she subdued with the Force? Hint, he later went on to play James Bond. Daniel Craig. Okay, last. James Earl Jones is well known for providing Darth Vader's deep voice. I'm going to give you 5 choices, 1 through 5. How many actors do you think played the actual role in the embodiment of Darth Vader over the 9 films? Their choices are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So how many think only one actor played Darth Vader in all the scenes all the way through? Lutz. Couple? Oh, okay. 3. How many think 2 actors shared the role? 3 or 4, okay. 3 actors. A few more. Oh, okay, a little more. 4 actors. Just Farron. Maybe somebody up there. 4. How about 5? Sally says 5. Sally, Margaret, and Farron are all correct because the technical answer, according to the Doug Walker School of Scorekeeping, both of these answers are correct. There are 4 actors and 1 stuntman. So one stunt man did all the stunts for all the movies. Okay, happy bucks, besides that it's May the 4th. Doug,
Happy bucks. I discovered the other day while walking with Bev that, having deadlines for something done is a really good thing. Deadlines, I discovered they really work well. My accounting system's not good. I never did go to college. And now, but I count. And then the other thing is, my asparagus is out of the ground and flying around. So I really enjoyed that. So I passed out 45 bags this morning or today for this. Debbie, get some asparagus. All right. And I'm kind of tired of eating asparagus.
already. After the first crowd. Debbie. Oh, the mic.
Mike? Here, I'll just
You have to- Okay. You have to press the button.
So yes, I'll put some money in for asparagus. I love it and we aren't tired of it yet. But I asked my husband where he was taking me for our anniversary. And so we went to Kanab, Utah and spent a week and it was fabulous, beautiful scenery and the last day of driving before we went home was four-wheeling and Bob goes, okay, it finally came together. But I stretched my boundaries. We went on this one drive that they had the green beginner, deep sand and stuff. And then they had at the other end of the spectrum, the double red diamond, dangerous, take your life in your hands. And we compromised with the blue section, which was a stretch for me. And I think our Jeep was happier being on blue than red.
Well, we're happy you made it back. I know Bev has something. I think John has something. Jody, I think. I think I can, and Sally, I think I can bring the mic out there.
I wanted to give happy bucks because Doug and I are gonna go to dancing lessons again tonight. Also, the empathy shown in our candidates and Mr. Weber and so forth in our school system. I just really appreciate it because I can hear it in the KJO interviews and so forth. And if anybody hasn't listened to the interviews, Ray was great, everybody was great in those interviews. Also, but the empathy that Mr. Weber shows to our community, I really appreciate that. I haven't got so
Yeah, I got a couple of happy bucks because my little vineyard is experiencing bud break. And the 50-year-old vines have just popped out, but the early ones were the Malbec and the Barbera, which are my youngest vines. And they're already about 4 inches tall. So get ready for the harvest this fall.
Thanks, John. That is a highlight. Actually, after the videos.
Thank you. This is my first meeting in person since pre-pandemic. So you all and some of the socials. May 20th and 21st, my TJ, and his son comes in now. Is won a solo competition for violin and helping to play with the Youth Symphony of Southern Oregon. So May 20th and 21st is going to be in the Criterion at SAU. So if you're interested, please let me know. Have a comment.
Yeah. That's right. You have to go along. I think you did it before that. Who else?
And happy back. I want to thank Doug also for being the recipient of the asparagus. My mom used to have a fabulous hat, quite by my son. So thank you, Doug.
Okay, anybody else? How do I do? Doesn't look like it. Anybody got here?
Thank you, Greg. Okay, so last reminder, if you haven't signed up for wildlife images, please do that so we can get you on the head count. Next week, I'm excited about this program. Trevor Yarish is going to be coming to talk about the Hive downtown. So that will be very exciting. And I am sticking with the Star Wars Day theme here for our thought of the day. This is a quote from Harrison Ford. He said, "May the force be with you" is charming, but it's not important. What's important is that you become the force for yourself and perhaps for other people. Have a great day, and we will see you next week.